You know all the classic money rules, right? Save every penny, track every dollar, pay down debt like your life depends on it. Well, what if those rules, the very things designed to make you wealthy, are actually what's holding you back? In this explainer, we're diving deep into the unwritten rules of building wealth. I know, that sounds completely backwards. Break the rules, get richer. But we're going to unpack why some of the most common good habits can actually lead to failure and what the wealthy do instead, which, often looks kind of irresponsible on the surface, but is secretly building real lasting wealth. So let's kick things off with why the old rules so often fail. Some research in the Journal of Financial Planning found something pretty shocking. Sticking super rigidly to traditional money rules is one of the biggest predictors of financial burnout. And we're not just talking about being tired of your spreadsheet. We're talking about the kind of burnout that makes people just give up on their plans entirely. Which means the good habits were actually setting them up for failure from the start. See, the problem usually isn't a lack of discipline. It's that some of the most famous financial habits are quietly draining the one resource you can never ever get back, your focus. It's all about working smarter, not just harder, with where you put your financial attention. Okay, so let's talk about one of the most common pieces of financial advice out there, the infamous latte factor. We're going to see exactly why it's a huge distraction from the things that actually move the needle on your net worth. So, our brains have this limited battery for making good decisions, right? Scientists call it cognitive bandwidth. Every time you agonize over a small purchase, you're using up that battery. You're draining the mental energy you need for the big stuff, the decisions that could actually change your life. It also creates this scarcity mindset that makes you feel broke even when you're not. And here it is, the $5 villain. This is the number we're told to worry about. This tiny daily indulgence that financial gurus claim is the one thing standing between you and $1 million retirement. It gives you this illusion of control, while the things that are really costing you a fortune go completely unnoticed. Now this is the kind of number that actually shapes your financial future. The raise you didn't ask for, the insurance you haven't shopped for in 5 years, these are the kinds of decisions that can shift your net worth by thousands, and they often get totally ignored because we're so busy tracking lattes. All right, next on the chopping block, another sacred rule, tracking every single dollar. Let's look at how a totally different approach can be way more effective and, frankly, more sustainable for the long run. Let's think about someone like Diana. She is doing everything right according to the book. She budgets, she tracks every penny, she meal preps, but that debt she's carrying, it's like this constant weight, filtering every single decision she makes through this quiet little question in the back of her head. If this goes wrong, can I still make the payments? Research from the University of Cambridge actually shows why budgets like Diana's often fail. It's because they rely on willpower. And willpower is a finite resource. It runs out. Every tiny decision, should I buy this? Can I afford that? Drains that willpower until eventually people just give up. You know the story. That spreadsheet is usually abandoned by February. A systems-based approach, on the other hand, is all about making the most important decisions automatic. You decide once to save and invest a certain amount. You set it up to happen the moment you get paid, and then you're free to spend the rest guilt-free. The important stuff is already taken care of. Now, this is where it gets really, really interesting. Every single generation seems to fall into a version of the exact same trap. We prioritize the appearance of wealth over the quiet, kind of boring reality of actually building it. The only thing that changes is the costume. For Robert, a boomer, the ultimate signal that you'd made it was the house. And hey, it was a good investment on paper. But the trap was thinking the house was the entire plan. It left most of his net worth sitting inside 4 walls instead of in liquid retirement accounts he could actually use. For Karen from Gen X, the trap was lifestyle creep. Every raise, every promotion was immediately matched by an upgrade, a bigger car, a nicer house, a fancier vacation. So yeah, her income grew, but the gap between what she earned and what she spent, it never actually got any wider. For Marcus, a millennial, the signal of success became the experience. An entire culture told him that memories were the real wealth, not money. Now, the trap wasn't spending on experiences. It was using them as a substitute for building assets. It left him with some great stories, for sure, but not much to show for it in his bank accounts. And for Zoe, from Gen Z, the trap is the online aesthetic. She knows all the right words. She can talk about compound interest and index funds, But her spending is often driven by performing wealth online, where the look of success can be the exact opposite of the quiet, unseen work of actually building it. So whether it's the house, the upgrade, or the perfect Instagram feed, all these traps and all those bad rules we started with, they distract us from one single core concept. A simple comparison between two car owners makes it perfectly clear. Okay, let's take two people, Jake and Marcus. Jake leases a car. His monthly payment is lower, and he feels like he's being really smart. Marcus buys his car, so his payment is higher. But here's the huge difference. Jake is on a conveyor belt of payments that literally never ends. Marcus, on the other hand, has a finish line. After 5 years, Marcus owns his car. It's an asset, and his payments stop. Jake is just starting another lease, having built zero equity after all that time. And this brings us to the single most important philosophy in all of this. It's the wealth gap, the difference between what you earn and what you spend. That's it. That is the entire game. It's not about how much you make, it's about how much of that you keep and put to work for you. And this is how it all clicks together. Remember those bad habits we started with? They aren't bad at all. They're just tactics that serve this one master strategy. Ignoring the lattes frees up your focus to go after a raise. Automating your savings ensures that gap gets funded first, no matter what. Every single one of these unwritten rules is about one thing: protecting and growing that gap. So the real takeaway here is a question I want you to ask yourself. Which unwritten rule, which generational trap might you be following without even realizing it? Because the very first step to getting out of any trap is just being able to name it. The truth is, the habits that build wealth don't look impressive. They look boring. And boring is exactly where your money grows.